All right, wonderful to be here with you all. I just wanted to share with you something that a little bit more about yesterday's experience with trust and the profound changes that occurred in my spine, which I described. You can see the comments below for the video in which I discuss it, and I will also put a card at the end of this video. But what I noticed today, or last night actually, was that the process just continued. The trust process just continued to amplify. And my hand again on its own went up to this point, my upper back. And I just felt this profound connection to the point and this thought of trust and all the meanings that trust has occurred. And there, just as I'm touching it, the bones are moving, the vertebrae are moving and adjusting. It was so incredible. By the time it was done, my upper back was just all the way up into the neck, straight as an arrow, soft and smooth. It was so beautiful. Now I can see in my inner body that below that point there's still distortion. So that's something that may or may not be, a part, may or may not change. So this is important to clarify. My intention here is not to heal this back problem. Not to try to avoid paralysis. That's not the intention here at all. And I know that sounds strange because, especially in my case, I was trained as a therapist in Japan, and so it's natural to think of things in terms of fixing something or healing something. But that's what I've been doing for years, and it's time just for my path. It's time to stop that and just capital TRUST, trust the body, and invite some of you maybe to pray for my body to do what it needs to do. Trust, prayer of trust, not a prayer of healing, not a prayer of fixing. I don't think this is a problem. It's just the flow of my life. That it may go into paralysis, and that is okay. That's right. The one thing I noticed is once this trust process began, maybe was it 2 days ago now, what I noticed is there's just this feeling of rightness in the body, an incredible feeling of rightness in the body. Like every cell is just lit up with rightness, and as I was touching the various points in the body, and the spine is like adjusting, like you would move a finger. I mean, that obvious of a movement, just moving, adjusting and straightening out. I realized at that moment that the thought occurred, this is healing. This is healing. And then I realized, but that's not the point. It's not the point. The point is trust, not focus on the outcome. Trust in the body was the realization that I had, not for any specific outcome. And of course, there's a big fear there, especially considering that I have had a previous diagnosis with paralysis as an inevitable outcome. And that was 3 years ago, and I've kind of been staving it off for the last 3 years. It's time to move beyond that staving off, and the realization was the body needs to turn into this process. And the way to do that is to trust, and that might actually lead to paralysis. And that's okay. It just feels right. It may not lead to paralysis. Again, none of that's the outcome's it's none of my business. As soon as my mind thinks of the outcome, the feeling of rightness is gone from the body. And so the beautiful thing, many of you, out of your love and concern for me, you don't want to see another person suffer, especially someone you care about, is you've sent emails to me and said, why don't you try this person for healing, or that person can fix it, or this person just do that meditation, and praying for you to get better, praying for your healing, praying for, all those kinds of prayers are totally understandable. And I welcome you to continue them. I do invite you to just go with trust, the capital TRUST, for this process. And you may even feel inclined to invite trust into your own body, your own life. But those of you who still feel inclined to share prayers of healing and love, it's actually very helpful for me when I read your emails, because it directs my mind down the possible escape routes that it would seek to do. Because each time I get an email, there's this doubt in the process I'm doing. Well, I'm not doing it. It's a doubt in this process that's happening to me, and kind of give me a backup plan, right? Like, so I've got 1 foot in, 1 foot out. I notice that's the thought, and suddenly the feeling of rightness in the body is gone. And the feeling starts going in the direction that's just unhelpful. Even though the intention is to help, I'm not sure that's compatible with trust. It's a strange, very strange thing I'm saying here. Because trust either is or it isn't. There isn't a 70% trust or a 50% trust or 90% trust. I mostly trust you. It's not how it works. You trust somebody or you're suspicious of them to some degree. And for this process, to trust means simply trusting in every possible way. But it also is very beneficial when I receive those invitations or suggestions for this avenue of healing or that modality or this person I should contact or whatever. It's very helpful because it shows me the areas in my mind. Like there's something in my mind that might a little bit stick to the message. And it shows me the areas within my own body and psyche that are still holding back, still not quite trusting. And so then that allows me to relax and feel trust for those areas. And even trust for the thought of wanting an escape or a healing. But that's okay. It doesn't mean I have to follow it. My body is simply, I'm trusting my body to simply do what it will do. Now, I should clarify that point a bit to understand what it means. Through long-time study of martial arts and therapy arts, I realized that my body would move in ways that were helpful to resolve problems. An attack, for example, like just on its own, it would take care of it, and I wouldn't have to think of a solution or try to strategize. It just would just respond perfectly, harmoniously. Working with in Shinkai-ho, which is what I teach now, originally Sotai-ho, which is what I learned in Japan, working with clients, maybe I'd be working with them for a half hour or an hour. This process was completely just the body doing its thing, and I'm kind of in the background just sort of watching it, amazed at what the body does. It's just that. It's an autonomic movement, and I'm trusting the body has its own intelligence, its own wisdom, its own brilliance, and that it's going to do what it needs to do. And I don't know if that's healing or not. It's not my business. It's just trusting the body to do what it will do. And so, in a sense, I've stepped away from the healer label and just trust in being. Trust in the intelligence, awareness of being and the flow of my life as it will be. And that may be paralysis. It may be a total recovery. And so, going back to the process as it was unfolding and where I am now, like I said, the neck just straightened up. So like if you were to go and look at the videos just from 2 days ago, you'll notice my right shoulder's raised up and my neck's kinked off to the side. Those kinds of things you'll notice. Now it's flat. And my head is still a little bit pushed forward. So there's still something going on. I feel a tension. It's actually kind of lower down, but that's all right. And it culminates here at this point. There's still some more adjustment that may happen there. So I'm just describing what's going on, not what will happen or what should happen or even what I hope to happen. And so as I'm touching as my hands are touching various parts of my body and my mind is flowing to certain areas of the body, and this feeling of trust is flowing into those areas of the body. All this is very natural, not intended exactly. I was in a very meditative state at the time. Very clear, embodied state at the time. And what I started to notice is that not only was my spine opening up and changing and shifting, my hips were, my knees were, my feet were, the muscles in the bones in my toes were adjusting and moving. No pops, just like smoothly, softly, but actually rather rapidly moving. Even in my jaw, my right sinus, it like there was a click and it opened up, and suddenly I could breathe so much better. It was amazing. I could feel changes in my eyes, in the retinas of my eyes, in the muscles in my eyes. I could feel changes just kind of globally, my fingers. And I noticed that I could actually start to move my arms. Like prior to this, my elbows were basically kind of glued to my sides because moving them beyond that was very painful in pretty much every direction. And that there was a certain point where I just couldn't, like my elbow wouldn't go out further than, this. And so what I noticed this morning is a couple things. Also, I couldn't move my head from side to side or up or down. This is about the range of motion I had just as of yesterday. And so now I can move my head. Really amazing. Up and down is still quite limited, but side to side I've almost got a full range of motion. There's a point where there's a feeling like, okay, it doesn't go right to go beyond this point. With my arms, I can raise them up. Now my left won't go any higher than this. My right, I can go all the way up. And I can raise them out to the sides too. Going to the 4, my left stops about this point. I don't know if you can see it. And about that point, my right can go out fully. Pulling back, that's full. That's limited. And because going any further would be painful, going any further than that would actually put me in agonizing pain all day long. So I prefer not to do that. But so, appearances, this is going in a direction of what we would describe as a recovery healing. But again, that's none of my business. As soon as my mind gets attracted to that, the feeling of rightness is gone. I just trust this process. I trust in the body, and that's all. And I'm praying and I'm hoping that you will send prayers of trust like that. Full-hearted, just trust in this process, and let's see where it takes us instead of projecting where it should go, which is a kind of moralization of what should be. If you get a cut on your arm, do you have to focus on that skin for it to knit itself up? You need to do that? Or do you just trust that it's going to heal itself? Sort of like that. If you get a bruise, you just trust that it will heal itself. The body does have its own capacity to do whatever it needs to do. And in this case, I'm just trusting that capacity, but even more than that it might heal, that it may actually need to go through a disease state. It may need to go through a paralysis state. And because I have the movement right now, an increased range of motion and all of that right now, in my mind, it doesn't mean that will be the case tomorrow, or should be the case tomorrow, or even 5 minutes from now. Just trusting. I'm hoping you will join me in that dance of trust. And thank you so much. I'm signing off.